Hello, everyone. My name is Haley Cassidy, Americhem's Global Branding and Digital Marketing Leader. I'd like to thank you all for joining today's webinar, Color and Appearance Retention in Engineered Compounds Part 1, Non-Automotive Vehicles. Today, we'll take you through the world of non-automotive vehicles, or what we refer to as NAV or NAV, which you'll hear referred to a lot throughout the presentation, and how to balance both appearance and performance through customizing polymeric solutions. So long-term appearance is key, but all other property specifications must be met in types of applications such as recreational vehicles and watercrafts. Americhem Engineered Compounds, or AEC, will also be illustrating real-life case studies from successful applications manufactured for a variety of OEM customers. All attendees are muted, so please send in your questions through the questions tab, and we will be addressing them at the end of the presentation during our Q&A segment. Today, we'll start with a brief introduction of our panelists and who Americhem is, followed by explaining why weatherable compounds are so important in NAV and speaking to specific weatherable compound requirements. We'll then share some testing methods and our capabilities for custom product solutions. Lastly, we'll run through existing performance data available in our product portfolio, share some really cool case studies from AEC, and then move into our Q&A segment. Today, I am joined by Don Hone, Americhem Engineered Compounds National Sales Manager, and Kumar Parimal, Americhem Engineered Compounds Product Development Manager. I'll now turn it over to our panelists for them to give brief bios of themselves, followed by the rest of the presentation.
Thank you, Haley, and hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Don Hone, National Sales Manager for Americhem Engineered Compounds. This will mark my 13th anniversary with Americhem. I've been in the plastics industry for 37 years, holding various positions in the manufacturing, product development, marketing, and sales disciplines. It's my pleasure to be with you today. Americhem is a privately held company with 79 years of growth and innovation. We strive to be your global partner in polymer solutions, earning your trust and confidence through innovative solutions towards optimized performance. With 12 locations and over 900 employees providing worldwide sales and technical support, we are well recognized as a technology leader in the plastics industry. And speaking of technology, I'd like to introduce Kumar Parimal. Kumar?
Hello everyone, and welcome to the webinar. My name is Kumar Parimal, and I'm the Product Development Manager for Engineering Compound business at Americhem. I've been with the company for about 2 years now, and I've served plastic industry for 10 years, working in different R&D roles. And I want to continue with the introduction slide, more focusing on the R&D side. And at Americhem, our goal is to work with customer to provide them a customized solutions for their needs, and that is irrespective of the business size. And we can do that because of our very diverse portfolio of product. In that regards, we are truly a resin agnostic company. And to achieve these goals, we have a very strong R&D facility. We have R&D centers located across 3 continents. The labs are fully equipped to run all kind of tests, all kind of physical, mechanical, analytical tests. And we also work with external labs for a specific test that customer needs. As I mentioned earlier, that at Americhem, we want to work with our customers closely to find a customized solution for their need. We understand that one size does not fit all, so we want to work on the specific need of the customers. And to achieve these goals, we have very strong field service support, and our field team is not just the sales team. They are very technically strong people who work with customers to recommend them the right material for their applications. They work with customers to find the right processing condition for our material and help them to design new applications and tool designs. And last but not least, one of the topic for today's seminar is weathering. We have one of the largest and most advanced weathering facility in the world, and I'll talk a little bit more about the lab capabilities on the next slide. You can see our labs, we have both ISO 9001 as well as IAFT 16949 certified labs. We have over 30 years of industry experience in the world of color and aesthetics. And we have a very strong R&D team who is proactive about all the new emerging technologies. We are fully aware of the work going around in this area of aesthetic and colors. In the lab, we can perform over 30 standard test methods for weathering, as well as a lot of customized tests that we work with customer to meet their specific needs. And one more thing that I want to mention is that we do have access to outdoor weathering weathering sites both in Florida and Arizona. So keeping all these strengths in mind, I want to answer one of the key questions for today's seminar, which is why do we need weathering? And there are a lot of value in the weathering performance. On the next slide, you can see that the picture on the right, it's a simple picture that everyone can correlate with it. You're on a nice summer day, you spend a couple of hours on a beach, and you see discoloration on your skin. And this tanning shows that how intense and how harmful sun rays can be. And we are talking about just a couple of hours. Now think about your end user and customers who have their favorite ATV or a golf cart or a snowmobile, and these NAVs are intended to use for external use for longer period of time. So they want to look nice throughout their life. And in a certain way, nature is way advanced. We know that you spend next few days inside and your tanning goes away, the skin self-heals. But in the polymer world, we are not that advanced yet to find a self-healing colorant or self-healing polymer. So we have to come with an alternate solution. And what the solution that we work on is to design our product, formulate our product in a way that it does not discolor, does not degrade, it's more stable over a period of time, so that we don't have to run into this issue of discoloration. And again, as I was mentioning, that nature is pretty harsh. We have a lot of sunshine. And then when you think about your applications, your end user is, excuse me. So your end user is have this application throughout the world, and you don't have to test your material in every single weathering condition. So one of the things that you hear quite a lot in this area of weathering is Arizona and Florida weathering condition. And the reason these terms comes up because these two represents the conditions that represents one of the harshest conditions that can damage a plastic or a colorant. And the two factors that we keep talking about are heat and the moisture. So Arizona, it's a dry heat. You get a lot of sunshine and it's a straight heat to the polymer that might degrade the colorant or polymer. But when you talk about Florida, which is again a nice lot of sunshine, but it also comes with a lot of humidity, and that is another factor that we have to keep in mind. And the reason these conditions gives you a confidence that if the material works in these harsher conditions, you feel confidence that it will have lesser impact on the less harsher conditions. So, and when you talk about the weathering, it takes years of time, 3 years, 5 years, up to 10 years of time to get the weathering testing done outdoor in Florida or Arizona. And when you are working on a new application, you don't want to wait for 10 years to decide what material to use for an application. And that's where the weathering lab, the accelerated weathering comes into play, where it's a stimulated environmental condition that we try to mimic in the lab, where you have the day-night cycle with the rain stimulation. So all this kind of gives you an idea and gives you it's a nice screening tool to figure out what is the right material to use for certain applications, because if it's not performing well in the early part of the trial, it gives you confidence it will perform better. It has have better chance of performing later on the long-term weathering. And the one of the value that it brings is that when you're talking about weathering, these tests is done over a couple of months, 2,000 to 3,000 hours, which will be 3 months. That reduces your trial time, your wait time from years down to a few months. And before I start talking about some more data related with both indoor lab data generation and outdoor weathering, I like to hand over screen to the Don, where he wants to talk about, so first introduce to our product portfolio for the weatherable series, and then talk about a couple of applications where we have successfully worked with our customers to develop new applications. To you, Don.
Thanks, Parimal. Our NAV category, when we talk about NAV, we really refer to all types of land or water-based moving vehicles outside of conventional automobiles. The types of vehicles would include outdoor sport and recreation, snowmobiles, marine, boats and jet skis, golf carts, ATVs, side-by-side all-terrain vehicles, lawn and garden, so mowers, lawn tractors, utility carts, and agricultural, heavy equipment, tractors, harvesters, balers, earth-moving equipment, etc. And in this area, the applications include fenders, hoods, skirts, consoles, body panels, etc. Generally parts that influence or enhance the outward appearance of the vehicle, as well as perform a specific function. So the requirements on these parts include both aesthetics and durability. Appearance sells, and in NAV, the color is often the brand, as everyone can relate to John Deere green. The long-term outdoor performance of the color, its appearance, and its durability are a reflection on the OEM and speak to its quality. So initial and long-term appearance are critical to this OEM perception. Not only do they have to look good, they have to perform. And typically these vehicles are expected to endure harsh environments, of outdoor environments of water, snow, mud and dirt, chemicals, etc., for the life of the vehicle. So toughness, even at low temperature extremes, durability, scratch resistance, and chemical resistance are all key requirements in this segment. Here we take a look at some of Americhem's offerings in this segment versus some conventional resins that are used. Properties of interest, of course, here on the left. Number one, the parts need to look good. So appearance, gloss, typically high gloss, a high distinction of image, Class A, paint replacement quality type finish. Weatherability, as we mentioned, long-term appearance, both color and gloss retention is a critical performance criteria. Color, again, is often the brand, and it's expected to endure the life of the vehicle. And they need to perform, so scratch and mar resistance is high, toughness, particularly low temperature impact performance, chemical resistance, often contact with engine fluids and cleaners, and of course heat resistance to handle operating temperature in high sun load applications. So looking across at Americhem's offering, our Surlyn Reflection Series resins. This is a patented PA6 ionomer alloy featuring Dow's Surlyn ionomer. It excels and exceeds the performance of conventional options in all critical performance criteria, and it is our premium product offering for this market. We have an HGA series of proprietary alloys. Our HGA 1500 is a modified PA6. It's an enhanced impact modified nylon 6, offering many of the same features of our Surlyn Reflection series, with slight trade-offs on impact performance in order to achieve improved economics and higher flow characteristics. HGA 5500 is our proprietary modified HDPE. This material provides higher gloss and improved weathering and scratch versus conventional polyethylene and polypropylene options. We have an ASA product. Our Colorfast ASA includes our proprietary UV stabilization technology, enhancing the performance and offering good all-around performance, processability, and economics for these types of applications. And finally, our Colorfast Pcr is a UV stabilized impact modified acrylic. Provides excellent outdoor performance for injection molding or extrusion applications. It's available in high gloss or matte finish. It can be formulated with high opacity at very thin thickness for use in capstocks or for film lamination applications. So if we look at a couple of case studies on where we've been effective, first is a hood and forward cowling on an industry-leading brand snowmobile. The customer was experiencing breakage at low temperature and looking to reduce costs by eliminating the need to paint. Surlyn Reflection Series was positioned. It demonstrated ductile impact performance at -30 degrees C, eliminating all breakage that they were experiencing. It demonstrated a high gloss Class A finish directly from an A1 polished mold. It met the OEM specific weathering test requirements across their full color range. We proved to be highly scratch resistant and resistant to the operating chemicals, including fuels in the fuel tank area. And they were able to achieve a savings of $80 per part. Second one is an industry-leading golf cart. The full front and rear body panels. Customer had been experiencing, or had probably poor prior experience with attempts at molding color. Appearance, scratch, toughness, and weathering were all insufficient, but they were still looking for an option and an alternative to painted parts. Americhem successfully positioned our Surlyn Reflection Series material here. We successfully color matched their full product range, again with a high DOI, high gloss appearance, and we were able to meet all of their long-term weathering requirements as well. Obviously, high sun loads on golf courses in Arizona and Florida. We had ductile impact performance over the vehicle's operating temperature range and improved highly resistant to scratching and the environmental chemicals and cleaners as well. The next one is a major OEM. It was an Outboard Engine. The client was launching a redesigned engine, and they were looking to address deficiencies of chemical resistance and reduce costs with their prior painted primary engine cover panels. In this case, we positioned our ASA material. We had a successful color match on multiple colors, including a challenging bright white. We demonstrated chemical resistance to the oils and fuels and gasketing materials used in the engine construction. We were again able to achieve a high DOI, high gloss finish, and the long-term appearance was qualified to the customer's accelerated xenon testing method. And then finally, the ASA material provided the needed heat resistance to withstand the summer sun heat load. Here's another one, a fourth case. This was for a supplier to the trucking industry. They had been experiencing breakage in the existing refrigeration unit panel doors, and they were looking for a running solution to a current program. We successfully positioned our HGA Series 1500 MN10 product. It's a mineral filled nylon 6 version. In this case, we offered, again, high impact at low temperature, ductile performance, so we were able to eliminate the breakage in the application, successfully color match the adjacent parts that were already in place, and our ability to add the mineral and tailor the shrinkage allowed this part to be molded in the existing tooling that had been previously already designed for an amorphous material. We had demonstrated resistance to scratch and chemicals and conformance to the OEM specified, again, another xenon test method. And a final case here is an ATV or side-by-side vehicle. Again, the OEM was looking to replace painted parts to reduce cost. In this case, we positioned our Colorfast HGA 1500. That's a nylon 6, high flow, high gloss, high DOI. We were able to color match multiple brand identifying colors, including a very challenging deep jet black. Demonstrated durable ductile performance in demanding off-road testing. Displayed excellent chemical resistance to scratches and chemicals. And additional high flow of our HGA 1500 was able to fill the large area of the hood. So again, a nice success story. I'll go back to Parimal now for a little more in-depth look on our weathering performance of these compounds.
Thank you, Don. And you saw how we worked with customers to meet the challenging need both for performance and aesthetics. And I want to share some data that we have worked on our different product line series that Don talked about, Surlyn Reflection, acrylic, and ASA. And before I start sharing some data, I want to clarify a few things on the scales. So on the bottom one, there is a weathering lab data generated over time, and it has a gloss on the y-axis, which is very obvious. But on the top graphs, you see a delta E unit on that one. And for the people who are not very familiar with the color science, I just want to explain what delta E is. So delta E is actually a measure of color change, and it accounts for 3 scales that we measured. That's the first one account for the darkness, that is black and white. The second scale is yellow and blue unit, and the third one is green and red. So it's a combination of the 3 factors that we take into consideration to measure the shift in the color, which is the delta E. And again, I have scaled those ones in a scale from 0 to 3. And when you are doing weathering, you do expect some shift, but the question is what shift or what change is acceptable. And it's a case by case study. So we can't have in some darker color, delta E of 1 might not make any difference, but for some colors, delta E of 1 might a big difference. So it's a case-by-case study, but in general, a delta E shift of 3 units is an acceptable shift in color when we are considering or talking about weathering by the industry standard. So over here, as I mentioned earlier, that we work with our customer within specific conditions, and these two data sets represents the same material tested in an indoor weathering lab with different conditions, different light sources, different filters, different cycles. And the main point I want to make it with the data is that irrespective of the conditions that you see a very similar trend in the behavior of the performance of the color. You see have a very robust colors change less than 1 unit for the black color. And then if we move to the next slide, I want to share some weathering data which was done on the same material in the outdoor facility, both in Florida and Arizona. And again, it's in the same scale of 0 to 3 on delta E. And you can see there's on longer period of time, for 3 years, you have a little bit more shift in the color, but it's still well within the limits that we are setting ourselves for a shift less than 3 units. And again, it's very similar behavior both in Arizona and Florida, having a similar kind of color shift. And as Don also mentioned about the color is not just for aesthetic, it also represents a brand value. And the data I showed, black does not mean that we work only in one color. So we know that how critical the color is. So we did a study on the similar study on multiple colors. I'm showing you some representative examples here from blue, red, white. And as you can see that every color behave very differently. Some colors have lesser shift in color than the other, but they are all within the tolerance. And that's kind of gives you an idea that we have a good portfolio of products to work with from both performance and color perspective. And with that, I will hand it over to Don to conclude the seminar.
Well, thanks, Parimal, and thanks to everyone who was able to join us today. We hope you'll consider the materials and the information that we've shown today and recognize us by our full offering of branded products. Here we're showing a full range. Color RX is our thermoplastic compounds for the medical industry. Instruct, our structurally reinforced compounds, of course, Colorfast, our custom color compounds, many of which we talked about today. Intellect, electrically active compounds. InLube, internally lubricated. The Surlyn reflections material, of course, we spoke about. We offer InTherm, these are thermally conductive compounds, and High Grav, which are high specific gravity compounds. Details on all of these are available on our website, www.americhem.com. So I will like to invite you and your colleagues to join us for our next webinar in the series, Color and Appearance Retention Engineered Compounds Part 2, Healthcare. You can sign up at the website and so forth. And this, I'll turn it back to Haley for a wrap up.
Thank you, John and Parimal. Awesome job presenting on this topic. We'll now move on to our Q&A portion of our webinar. I'll be reading off the questions that have been submitted and pass them on to our panelists for answering. So go ahead and continue sending in your Q&A. We'll start with the first one here. Our first question is, what if I have more specifications other than weatherability for my application? Can you manufacture compounds that meet multiple needs such as UV and chemical resistance or flame retardants, etc.?
Yeah, I'll take that one. And of course, yes, we do. We very often work directly with a customer or an OEM and tailor products to meet their needs. We've got specific data, obviously, on the resins that we've talked about today, many of which would cover the questions that you've asked about. We, of course, are excellent in flame retardant technology, so we can add FR. And it's very common to develop a custom formulation to meet the needs of the application. What we ask for is, key performance criteria, and we'll take that and work with our technical group to assign and develop the product.
Okay, our next question here is, can you tell me more about your HGA product line you mentioned?
Our HGA product line is our proprietary modified polymers. We use our own modifier technology, and essentially we modify materials such as the polyethylene and the polyamide 6 that was referenced today. We can possibly do that with others as well, customized nature for the needs of the application. We do offer fillers, different variations of flow, so medium, high, and very high flow within each grade. We can vary the ratio of the modifier to achieve a balance of impact versus heat resistance or tensile strength type performance. Again, very flexible as a custom compounder to utilize this technology and meet the specific needs of your application.
Okay. The next question is, do you have capabilities outside of the United States? If so, where are you able to ship to?
Yes, we do. We have production facilities actually in China. So we produce these materials, capability of producing these materials in the US and China. Recently acquired a facility in Denmark as well. So we have some mainland Europe capability that's being put in place. And of course, we do ship from either of these locations to any destination.
Okay, our next question is, do any of your colors work for BOPET or PET?
You want to take that one, Parimal?
Yeah, I think we have a color space. We work on the color space for all resins. If you have any specific need, you can work with us and send us the information. Then we might have a solution, or if not, then we'll definitely work for that. But we do have experience with PET systems and other polyester systems as well.
Okay, our next question is, do you have products that meet the international building code, such as weathering, flame propagation, and smoke emission tests?
We don't have a specific, usually our flame performance are UL listed. We don't have the building code certified flame test. We can get it done, but we don't have our certified material that are FAR, building code certified material. We don't have that FAR listed.
Okay, next question is, do you guys do your own in-house weathering testing and flammability, or do you use outside certified labs?
We do in-house weathering testing. We have access to the outdoor weathering facility at Florida and Arizona. And for the flame test, we have a fully equipped certified lab to do internal testing for developmental work, and we work with UL for the certification.
Okay, and I just wanted to follow up real quick on the question for the International Building Code. We do have those capabilities, but just not within the engineered compound sector of what we do. It's more towards our master batch and compounds that we do for the building and construction segment as well.
Thanks, Haley.
Okay, so our next question here, what are some of your most common base polymers that you work with within NAV?
Yeah, we touched on a good bit of them here. Ideally, nylon 6, modified nylon 6s, Sterling reflections, particularly in the HGA resins that we talked about and highlighted. We certainly do some olefins, we do acrylic, we do propylene, we do ASA, of course, and we do have some PBT, PC PBT type materials and ASA alloys for applications that aren't quite as demanding. We'll have PC ABS and ABS compounds. And beyond what we talked about today, we have many materials that we use that are not in the aesthetics area in NAV. So glass and carbon fiber reinforced, that would be structural type applications within the segment. We have a full product offering there across multiple polymer ranges. So a very nice portfolio for NAV overall.
Okay, we are at our 30-minute time limit, but we have a lot of questions still coming in here that we'd like to answer. So we will continue for a max of another 15 minutes or so. So if time permits that you're able to stay on the webinar, please do. If not, we'll be posting this recorded webinar to our website by early tomorrow. I'd also like to briefly mention here how you can ask us further questions after the webinar is over. If you have any other questions, you can certainly connect with our panelists on LinkedIn, but you can also go to the Americhem website and ask us questions through the instructions on this slide that you see here. If you go to americhem.com and click Contact Us, then choose the contact form that states I have a general corporate inquiry, and choose the option to send the contact form to marketing. I'll be receiving all of those questions directly and be following up with our panelists as soon as possible. You can take a screenshot of these directions, but we'll also be sending out a follow-up email with the directions in the email and a link to the contact page. So our next question here is, since you have such extensive weathering capabilities in R&D, are we able to come to you with an idea or problem and work with you to create a solution, or do we need to come to you with a finished formula?
I will prefer to work with you guys to find a solution together. So if you come to us with a problem statement, that is, we can work together from the ground level to build a solution that will fit both our requirements, both your terms of your meeting requirements and our material performance requirements.
Okay, our next question is a little bit more geared towards the healthcare one that we have coming up for part 2. But they said, thanks for an informative session. For Color RX series, are these FDA approved for single use or long-term use medical applications?
For our RX colorant, we have ISO 10993 Part 1 biocompatible tested material, and that is what we offer for the medical market.
Okay. Our next question is, do you have additional long-term weathering data that could help me determine a solution to our current poor weatherability?
Yes, we do for multiple colors, Parimal, I guess. I would add that, of course, we may not have your exact color have been exposed, but we have colors that may be very similar. We expose single colorant systems. We suppose combination colorant systems, ones that we have actually commercialized. We've got some data on. So I think the best thing would be to reach out to our technical group with an idea of the color that you've got, and Parimal can research our history on the weathering and see if we've got something similar to establish some confidence for you.
Okay. Next question is, do you work with brokers or distributors to sell any of your products?
We do have select channel partners. Most of these items we sell direct, but we do work through Nexio. We do work through Aviant, and we do work through Amco. So there are a couple of channel partners that we've got, and then we also, of course, sell direct.
Okay, next question here. Will you be elaborating more on Color RX in the Part 2 healthcare webinar?
And the answer to that would be yes. Yeah, stay tuned and join us for that one. That'll be a key topic.
Okay, I think that's all that we have today. So that wraps up our Q&A portion of the webinar. I'd like to thank our panelists for their time today, and I'd like to thank our attendees for joining Americhem in this important discussion about color and appearance retention in engineered compounds for non-automotive vehicles. Thank you again for attending our webinar today, and that concludes our presentation.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.